Here we go, everybody. What is up? It is the rundown back again with the NBA playoffs. Man, dude, that first round was fun, wasn't it? How are you, Justin?
Hanging in there, man. Yeah, it was an entertaining first round. Had some good series. Cavs and the Magic went seven. But yeah, I think we got a good second round. I'm excited for it and ready to dive in.
For sure, for sure. I think it's kind of interesting. This is the first playoffs without LeBron, Steph Curry, or Kevin Durant in the second round in like 20 years. Um,
Yeah,
and as
wild.
weird as it is to see kind of like my childhood aging out and getting bounced early, I don't know. It's kind of fun to see some like different teams in there, man. Like, I mean, you got
Yeah,
Minnesota, you've got OKC with a resurgence, the Celtics, you've got the Knicks back again. Like, it's a good time,
Pacers.
right? The Pacers,
Pacers haven't been good since Paul George and Roy Hibbert.
and then of course the Cavs winning their first playoff series without LeBron since 1993. Um, but yeah, so we'll get
Wild.
we'll get into all that in a little bit. For now, we've actually got some NFL news to hit first. As this one's going to hit close to home to you, but former Bengals wide receiver Tyler Boyd has signed a 1 year deal worth up to $4.5 million with the one and only Tennessee Titans. Boyd averaged 64 catches for 750 yards and 4 touchdowns per season in his 8 years with the Cincinnati Bengals. It's not that bad considering I don't think he was ever the number one, or if he was, it was early in his career whenever they weren't very good. Let's just call it what it is.
Uh, he was the number one in between us getting or us letting AJ Green go and us getting T Higgins. For I think it was like a 2 year stretch. He was our number one.
Yeah, and
And both of those years, he went over 1,000 yards. So
he did, and y'all were not very good in those years.
yeah, I mean,
Not his
he was
fault.
catching passes from Ryan Finley. So there's that.
Who?
Exactly.
um,
Fun fact about Ryan Finley, former Bengals quarterback. He is now a professional pickleball player. So
yes, sir.
that tells you where the that tells you where the Bengals were 3 years ago, 4 years
Oh,
ago.
good times, good times. I like this pickup for the Titans. I think Tyler Boyd is at that age and stage of his career where he's obviously not a number one. Um, but on the Titans, he doesn't have to be number one. He doesn't have to be number two. Because we've got D Hop and Calvin Ridley. So this just feels like a move that's great for Tyler Boyd. It's great for the Titans, who seem to be all in with Will Levis. And we're going to find out really quickly if he's our quarterback of the future or not. So I actually really like this pickup a lot. What were your thoughts? I know it's probably kind of sad for you to see him go, but
No, I think it's a great pickup for the Titans. I think it adds some, veteran presence to a team that I think kind of needs it.
for
Because
sure.
while D Hop is a veteran, I don't think he provides kind of that like leadership that I
Hmm.
think Tyler Boyd will. Um, and so that's where I think that it's kind of a good thing. I'm going to turn my TV off because I can see the reflections
Got the game
kind of
going in the
coming back
corner.
on me. Yeah. Like I'm going to turn that off because I can just, I can see the colors on my face. So, but no, I think he provides a veteran presence for a team that kind of needs it. And I think he'll be able to help Will Levis kind of develop a little bit. Um, and yeah, like you said, I think we'll truly be able to see if Will Levis is the guy because he has D Hop, Calvin Ridley, and Tyler Boyd now, and two pretty solid running backs. So if he's not able to get it done, you guys revamped your offensive line. I think all of the pieces are there
Hmm.
and in place for him to be able to succeed. So you're going to find out pretty quickly if he's worth anything or not.
Yeah, I'm either gonna have a really great year or I'm gonna be like a Bengals fan. So, and then
I don't know if you want to do that
I was gonna
either.
say, and if it recent years are any indication, you and I will be picking a team to bandwagon about halfway through the year.
Yes, sir.
What was it last year? Whenever both of our teams were terrible, we were just sitting over here like, Bills Mafia.
Maybe.
All
I
right.
was kind of rooting for the Lions.
Yeah, I was too. That was a fun story for sure. Honestly, the Bears might be a fun team to bandwagon this year, but
I don't know if I can get behind Caleb Williams. Just something about him rubs
fair
me the
enough.
wrong way.
Fair enough. That'd be a pretty zesty take if you see what I did there. On to our next topic. Um, I can't believe we're talking about this. Not because it's ridiculous for us to cover, but because it's ridiculous that a player put themselves in this position where this is a hot topic. But if we talk about career highlights of Patrick Beverly now, I feel like there are more antics than actual accolades. So, for those of you who don't know, Patrick Beverly, he threw a basketball at a fan not once, but twice, with the first one hitting a woman in the face. He hit her, asked for the ball back, so the fan tossed it to him, and then he just beamed him with it. Like, it was ridiculous. He refused to talk to ESPN reporter Melinda Adams, who is a 40-year veteran, very respected in the journalism field, because she didn't subscribe to his god-awful podcast. Pot kettle, right? Because, Rundown, let's not act like we're huge, but at least we don't assault people for not subscribing to us. We just look at them dirty.
We can start.
Sure. Jail sounds pretty fun, doesn't it?
I'm sure we could still find a way to do the podcast from jail. Why not?
Why not? Speaking of his podcast, he then came out and apologized for doing what he did, but stated that the fan had said something to him. He did not disclose what was said that made him throw the ball. Now, Justin, I've got a whole spiel ready for this. So why don't I just start us off? So Patrick Beverly threw a basketball at fans, and also probably threw his career away. Because I think if you're Adam Silver, I think I agree with Rick Bucher on this one. You have to suspend him for at least a year. I don't like Chris Broussard's take of, I think 5, maybe 10 games. It's got to be a year. Because what are we doing? You're a professional.
You can't set that precedent.
No, you're a professional athlete. This I don't care what was said, as long as it's not like egregious. If he's over here.
But even still, if it even is something racial,
get him kicked out.
Russell Westbrook was called racial slurs in Utah. He wasn't throwing stuff at fans.
No, he got the fan kicked out.
He wasn't charging the seats. He wasn't doing all of this stuff. He just got him kicked out.
And guess what the NBA did?
He took care of it professionally.
Guess what the NBA did? The Utah Jazz banned that fan for life.
There's ways to do this.
You have to be mature about this, because what you don't understand, because you're too self-absorbed to get your head out of your ass, is that you...
So much of a sore loser because you were getting your ass kicked.
Yeah, you were getting the crap kicked out of you, so of course, you're just in a bad mood, you're pissy, and so you reacted to some comments. You know what I heard was said? And I've seen this from multiple sources, that the fans said Cancun on 3. And he said that they were getting harassed all game. Regardless of how you feel about it, you are a professional athlete, you're a role model, people look up to you, and you are a face of the league. It's like either any of us, if we go out and do something idiotic, like if we get drunk and assault somebody in our work uniforms, we're representing that company. Whether we are working actively or not, we're representing that company. We lose our jobs. If it comes out that I was wearing my clinic polo and I beat the crap out of somebody downtown, I'm getting arrested for assault and I'm losing my job. As far as Melinda Adams, that's almost a separate issue. That was disrespectful as hell, don't get me wrong, but dog, you can't push reporters away because they don't subscribe to your podcast. He literally pushed her microphone away. Did you see that? He literally was like, get that microphone out of my face. This is unacceptable. This is beyond unacceptable. Malice in the Palace was awful. Pat Bev, you could have caused 2.0. Imagine if that fan was belligerent, had some more alcohol in him, and he decided to jump down there and square up. I know the fans can instigate and say some awful things, but you cannot do this. You threw a ball in the crowd twice. What are we doing? Sit your ass down.
You hit a fan that the ball was not intended for.
No, sit your ass down.
You had other consequences because of your actions, not just, trying to throw a ball at a fan. You hit somebody else.
Sit your ass down and take your L like a man, because you're a mediocre player at best, and you're lucky to still be in the league. Truly. What has Pat Bev done that has been meaningful to basketball success in the last 5 years? In the supposed 5 years he was going to run the league. There's a great quote from the movie Holes. 0! Like his highlight in the last 2 years is him bringing a camera to the ref to show him it was a foul, which is great. Don't get me wrong, that was really funny. But like,
That's honestly
it's one of my
that might be
favorite
my favorite technical foul ever.
for
If you
sure.
want me to be honest.
For sure, absolutely. But one of the best things about the NBA, like truly, is that you get the intimate settings with the players. You know, they can literally fall into the crowd. You know, you can have a player hit a shot and look you dead in your face, you know, because you've been talking smack. Um, and I love that. You know, one of the things that I don't like about, like, for example, going to NFL games, like when we went to that Titans Bengals game, is, you know, we're sitting up there in the stadium lights watching the game. And I mean, we had a good view, but, you know, Ryan Tannehill can't see me. Joe Burrow can't see you. Like, you know, they're over here like, Blue 42. Hey, Justin. What? You know, they're not doing that. Maybe. Yeah, right. So, but I love that aspect of the NBA, and this kind of shit is what gets it taken away. And it's like Patrick Beverly being a buffoon is going to ruin something that's amazing for the NBA, and I hate that. I don't have anything else to say about this moron. Like, I believe he deserves to be banned from the league, truly. Like, a year suspension for me is like, okay, good. That's going to end his career. Because I'm tired of him. I'm tired of him. Like, I mean, he shoved Chris Paul when he wasn't looking at him. He's clearly a coward. And I just don't think he deserves to ever put on an NBA uniform again. I think the league has to take this seriously, and I think they've got to do it quickly. Justin, what were your thoughts on this? Because gosh.
I mean, you kind of said it all.
Like,
the only thing I'd be interested in seeing is what that fan actually said.
Same.
Because if it was just like the Cancun on 3 and like making a joke, that's, you know, that's just ridiculous for him to get that upset about. But if it is a racial slur, while I don't condone his actions, I have to understand.
I understand
them.
that more, right?
You know, like, I'm not going to sit there and say that he's still, you know, because they called him a racial slur, that he is now in the right. However, I would be willing to understand why he did what he did. You know, I'd be willing to be like, okay, I can see why he made that action, right or wrong. It's a little more understandable.
For sure. I agree with you there.
But,
like, it's more understandable, but still not justified.
Yeah, exactly. And so until we know what was said, we have to assume that from multiple sources that we've heard that it's just the Cancun on 3 and he was poking fun at him. And that makes this just completely unacceptable. And yeah, I think the NBA has to do something about this. There's no reason that an NBA player or any player in any league whatsoever should be interacting with the crowd in this fashion.
Absolutely.
You know, you want to stare down a fan that's been talking crap to you, or you know, you want to like point to him or something. Like, that's one thing. Or, you know, even if you want to talk back to him, you know, like there's a video of I think it was Dante DiVincenzo where they were like, oh, your shoes don't match, you know, or no, it was his jersey. His jersey wasn't tucked in. And they were like, oh, it's an NBA rule that, you know, your jersey has to be tucked in. And he turns around, game's still going on. Like, they're like, Jalen Brunson's bringing the ball up the court. He turns around and goes, shut the F up. And the guy was like, okay. The guy was just like, it's an NBA rule. I don't know if you've seen that video. I'll have to send it to you.
I haven't,
so funny.
but that's awesome.
But like, just that, like, that's, you know, that's harmless, like, whatever. But like, what Pat Bev did is just inexcusable
For sure.
in any setting. So like you said, I think the NBA needs to do something about this, and I think it needs to be fast, because if it's just like a 5 or 10 game suspension, that to me sets a precedent for, yeah, it's a slap on the wrist. It sets a precedent for, you know, if this happens again, that it's not going to be taken serious, and, you know, the NBA players will now feel like they have a sense of power when it comes to interacting with fans, and it could become more dangerous for a fan watching the game. So, you know, I think this has to be taken more seriously.
Speaking of fan interactions, you see LeBron with that one random lady who was sitting there calling him a crybaby, so he went. She flinched and sat back down. Like, that's the kind of stuff that's like, it's harmless fun, right? Like, gosh, dude, I literally was watching this and watching his reactions and everything, and I got, like, it gave me a headache. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, dude, I don't know.
Oh, gosh. So, speaking of, the Bucks were eliminated by the Pacers, and yeah, the Bucks. I never thought they had a chance to win this series with Giannis out. This team is not good. And we saw that. Like, Dame, I think, is past the point where he by himself can make a difference, but also he didn't play for like half the series. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on the actual games. I do like the question that you have posed here. So I'll ask you, and then I can answer too. But do you think the Bucks need to blow it up and trade one, if not both, of their stars, or do you think they're just a piece away, or run it back?
Obviously, you don't run it back. Honestly, I just don't understand why they got rid of Adrian Griffin. They were, what was it, 18 and 22 with Doc Rivers as their head coach. They were like 33 and 11 with Adrian Griffin, 32 and 11, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And they didn't have a winning record with Doc Rivers. And why did they think that was going to work?
Can I just really quickly? I don't actually blame Doc Rivers for this, really. Like, it's not his fault that his team didn't play. Like, he got a team in the middle of a season. Like,
I think this is more on the Bucks front office.
For sure,
if you want to be honest.
For sure, it is. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to kind of clarify there. I honestly don't pin this on Doc Rivers all that much because.
No, honestly, I'd pin it more on their front office because, while you don't pin it on Doc Rivers, what track record outside of the 2008 championship, that was 16 years ago, what track record does he have in the playoffs? That's any sort of success. He's been to, one conference final since then?
Don't you dare insult the coach with the most blown 3-1 leads in NBA history like that.
My point exactly.
Gosh.
Do the Bucks need to blow it up? Yes, they do. I think it's done. I don't think Giannis wants to be there anymore. I think this Dame experiment was a massive failure. When you have two, what we would consider probably, I don't know, top 15 players in the league, top 20 at worst, you have two top 20 players and you get bounced in the first round, you're cooked, man. There's not a piece away that you can add to this team that's gonna get you over the hump and get you. They've had
prime
two first-round exits.
Prime Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Healthy for both of them.
Prime Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is not walking through that building tomorrow. So
no, you're not getting prime Steph Curry. You're not getting prime Magic Johnson. Michael Jordan is not, getting 30 years younger. It's not happening.
Speaking of Steph Curry, can we just talk about the fact that he almost went to the Bucks?
Yeah, that's wild.
Whenever they traded, because they traded. Well, no, but the Warriors traded. They were trying to decide between Steph Curry and Monte Ellis, and they wanted to trade Steph to the Bucks, and Mark Jackson said, "No, I want to keep Steph. It's his team. We should trade Monte." And so Monte went to the Bucks, but it was almost Steph. And could you imagine Steph Curry, and then they get Giannis? Oh gosh. Speaking of, Giannis to Golden State is a pretty prominent rumor. That'd be pretty neat considering he would be like the piece that Golden State lacks.
Size.
Mm-hmm. So.
And a little bit of athleticism.
Yeah, because you've either got Steph Curry, who's a freak of nature, or you've got 52-year-old Klay Thompson. Or you've got...
Who's actually only like 34, but plays like he's 52.
Yeah, or you've got 13-year-old Brandon Podziemski, who's like 21, but is...
Or like 14-year-old Jonathan Kuminga.
Right, exactly. As far as do they need to blow it up, I think I agree with you. Like, it just kind of feels like they are past their window. Honestly, I think the only reason why they made the playoffs is because of how good Giannis is and how good Dame is, and... it's just like, it's so odd seeing. I mean, we thought Giannis was going to be in the final. We thought he was going to be the next, like, LeBron coming out of the East. Like, the Bucks were going to be in the finals every year, and then they trade Drew Holiday, which just was clearly a colossal mistake.
weird that like the team that Drew Holiday's on is now, I don't know, the best team in the NBA. Odd.
Minnesota might have something to say about that, but
I mean, best regular season at least.
yeah, but no, I think I agree with you. I mean, Dame, I think you were never really going to have success with him in Milwaukee because he wanted to be in Miami. Who are we kidding? He wanted Miami, and I think now he'll probably try to find a way to get traded there. Especially if Miami's looking to potentially move on from Jimmy Butler. I don't know if you heard Pat Riley's comments about Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I did.
He was
if you're not
basically,
going to play,
you're not going to play, shut up. Yeah. Not a good look.
Yeah.
Not a good look.
No.
Heat culture is in some turmoil. We'll keep it in Indiana as Caitlin Clark dropped 21 in her WNBA debut with the Indiana Fever. I don't know if you got to see any of the highlights from that game. She looks like, I know I called her 2016 Steph Curry a few weeks ago. She looks like 2016 Steph Curry in the WNBA, man. It just comes so, she gets her own shots and it just looks so easy. Like we talked about, like I'm honestly excited to see her and like to see some, I might watch some WNBA games because she's in the league and, we're going to have some great matchups of like the people she played against in college.
Hey, Indianapolis is only about a 2-hour drive, right?
Yeah. Hey,
at least for me it is. I don't know how far it is for you.
It's like, it's not too far. It's probably closer to like 4, but that's still not bad. So, hey, maybe we'll have to go catch a game or something.
The Rundown podcast live from Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's move on.
Anyway,
as the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think they're playing a series against the Denver Nuggets, but it hasn't been very competitive so far. As game 1, the Timberwolves won, and Anthony Michael Jordan Edwards dropped 43. And then game 2 was last night, and the T-Wolves beat the dog shit out of out of Denver, 106-80, and they didn't even have Rudy Gobert, who wasn't at the game because his wife his partner, wife, girlfriend, whatever, had a baby. Stupid excuse if you ask me, but so they take a 2-0 series lead. The series going back to Minnesota, where they will look to close out the Denver Nuggets. I haven't even gotten to the player stats yet. What are we doing? Like, what's happening? Did we not think that this was going to be like we predicted this series to go 7, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, I was thinking like Denver in 6, maybe Denver in 7.
The freaking
I guess technically it still could happen, but
the defending champions, like what is going on? This hasn't even been close. Like, it looks like Denver is like, I sent you that funny picture earlier of what Jamal Murray was seeing on the defense, and it was like they were like photoshopped like 15 Timberwolves players on the court. Like, that's how it looks. We'll get to Jamal Murray in a minute, because my favorite tweet that came from this game is that Rudy Gobert's newborn baby didn't cry as much as Jamal Murray. So Anthony Edwards, are these game 2 stats?
Yeah, these are game 2 stats. Okay.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards hit 27, 2, and 7. So Karl Anthony Towns at 27, 12, and 1. Naz Reid, 14, 5 with 4 blocks. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who, if you're like me and had to look that player up before this podcast.
The only reason I know who he is because he's SGA's cousin. Fun fact.
Interesting. He had 14, 6, and 1 with 3 blocks. Jokic, I'm going to say the stat line, and it's still going to be bonkers because Jokic's bad games are like legendary NBA performances for other people. He only had 16 points, 16 rebounds, and 8 assists on 5 for 13 shooting. So the shooting numbers are ass, but like, I'm sitting there saying he had 16 rebounds and 16 points, and like anybody else, it's like that's a career night. Jamal Murray was 8, 13, and 2 on 3 for 18 shooting. Michael Porter Jr. was 9, 5, and 2 on 4 of 12 shooting. And Aaron Gordon looked like LeBron James on that team with 24 and 2, but he was still 8 for 14 and 3 of 5 shooting. You want to hit us with the Jamal Murray storyline that I was referencing a minute ago?
Yeah, so the big storyline from this series so far is that Jamal Murray could be suspended for Game 3 after he threw a heating wrap onto the court from the bench while play was happening. There was like some stuff going on under the rim, and the ball got tipped to Cat, and he kind of laid it up. But as all of that was happening, Jamal Murray threw a heating wrap onto the court. So the NBA, I guess, is deciding whether or not he should be suspended for Game 3. So my kind of thing was, should he be suspended? Like, given what we know.
So, not only should he be suspended, this should have already been announced. Because not only did he throw a heat wrap at the feet of the ref who was backpedaling out of bounds, like could have tripped over that and gotten hurt, he threw a towel on the court before that. Like, Steph Curry got ejected.
I'm not even worried about the ref. I'm worried about like Karl Anthony Towns. Like, what would we be doing if Cat would have stepped on that and like slipped or twisted his ankle or pulled a groin or something? What would we be talking about then?
Come on, bro. Ref lives matter. Come on.
Right. I love when I tune into a game just to watch the officiating.
Exactly. And that's why he was upset, is because there was some questionable officiating going on in his mind. I personally kind of just looked like they were letting him play. I mean, the game was pretty physical, but it kind of just looked like they were letting him play, which I liked. I thought it was
it was physical from both sides. Like, if the Nuggets wanted to be that physical, they could have been, and they weren't.
They weren't, because they were too busy looking for fouls. But anyway, Steph Curry got ejected from a game against Memphis a couple of years ago for throwing his mouthpiece away from literally everybody on the floor. Nobody was near him. He just chucked it down, and he got ejected from the game. It was 2 years ago, and it's because Jordan Poole pulled up from the Staples Center to shoot a three with like 15 seconds left on the shot clock, bricked it, and he got ejected for throwing something on the court that was in no danger to anybody. Throwing things on the court is supposed to be an automatic ejection. And the only reason why Jamal Murray wasn't ejected is because I don't think they saw it until after the game. But
yeah, I think they had assumed it came from like a fan or like a coach or something. Like, they didn't know who.
Well, you saw Jamal Murray was at the very end of the. Jamal Murray was all the way at the end of the bench pouting. Yeah. Like close to the fans, and he goes. But I didn't do that. Yeah, that was crazy. Who was that? But no. I think there should be a suspension, because if nothing else, you're acting like a toddler, dude. You're getting your teeth kicked in. You're not playing well. You're getting bully balled by the other team. Like, you can't throw shit. What are we doing? Like, this is just like, and this makes me honestly really mad, because I love Jamal Murray. Like, he is one of my favorite players, like, over the last few years, because his story of like, in the bubble, when him and Donovan Mitchell were giving us prime Michael Jordan versus prime Kobe Bryant, like type numbers, they were averaging like 45 points a game going at it. That game went 7 games. And then, Jamal Murray gets hurt. There was that story about him crying to Coach Malone about how he was worried he was going to be replaced. And they were like, no, we're standing behind you. His comeback, they win a championship. Like, I loved his story. So then you get this, and I understand your emotions get the better of you sometime, but this is just such a bad look. And, I think this should be a suspension, because you can't do it. I understand. I would be more against the suspension if it wasn't 2-0 Minnesota. Like, if it was 1-1 and the series was super competitive, I would be against suspending him, I think, because then that feels like it's making a difference. But hell, him not being in the game, I couldn't tell he's been in the game anyway. Like, well, I'm curious on your thoughts here, because
he was out there. He was out on the court. Did you not see the house that he was building? All the bricks that he was throwing up there?
That Spice Adams gif, him just they're clanking off the top of the backboard. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think he should be suspended? Because for me, I'm all for it if they decide to do that.
Honestly, yes. This kind of goes back to like the whole Patrick Beverly thing is like if you don't suspend him, it sets the precedent that this is okay, you
Right.
know, and you can't allow this to be okay if you're the NBA. You can't allow players or fans or anybody to throw things on the court while play is happening. Like I said, if one of the star players for Minnesota, Anthony Edwards or Cat or Nas Reed or any of Jaden McDaniels, if they would have stepped on that and like twisted their ankle, or I'm sure it was probably wet from like sweat, or they keep it in just like a moisture chamber, so it's
Hmm.
kind of steamy when it comes out. If they would have stepped on that and like slipped and like pulled their groin or got injured in any way, like how big of a storyline would that be for the NBA for them to lose one of their star players in the playoffs? Like this would be such a bigger, this would be a much bigger
There it is.
deal. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, this would be a much bigger. Good lord, a much bigger deal if, if one of these players would have gotten hurt. So luckily they didn't. But you can't allow this to happen, because if you let this go, then it sets the precedent that this is okay. We could see it in the future, and we could see a star player get hurt, which is nobody wants to see that, whether you're rooting for the team or not. You don't want to see a star player get hurt. So while it sucks that like I think he should be suspended, and I think it's going to take away from the Nuggets' slim chance of even having a shot to come back.
So
in
you're
the
telling
series.
me there's a chance?
No.
Like, I genuinely considered buying a Jamal Murray jersey last year. Like, that's how much, and I mean, you know me, I don't really spend money on jerseys like that. Like, I genuinely considered buying one because, like, that's how much I liked his story and, like, his comeback. And I'm not doing it.
Yeah, like,
Like,
this is tough. I think he should be suspended for at least a game.
yeah, you were like, imagine if one of the star players in this series gets hurt. And I'm like, yeah, instead, one of the players of this series might get suspended. Can't say star.
Yeah,
Um,
he is a player. That's the best we can
one
give
of
him.
the players in NBA history. Um, so let's move on. The Knicks, the New York Knicks, man, what a story. Speaking of, they stave off the Pacers in Game 1. They win at 121-117 behind some questionable officiating down the stretch. I know I called Anthony Edwards Michael Jordan earlier, but are we sure that's not Jalen Brunson? Because, I mean, what is this now, like 6 games in a row of 40-plus points in the playoffs?
I think
5?
I think 4,
It's at least
but
5.
I think in that 5th game he had 39.
Oh, ooh.
I mean, so like technically not 40, but yeah.
I thought he got to 40 because he was at 39 and then he had some free throws, but
No. Because the Sixers series went 5, right? Or did it go 6?
I think it went 6.
Either way, he dropped 43, and then games 6, 5, and 4, he dropped 40 plus, and then game 3 he dropped like 39.
Right, okay. I think it's like 6+ games in a row of 35 in a row.
The stat that I saw was like he's the first player since Michael Jordan to have 4 straight 39 plus point games, and I was like, that's a very specific stat, but whatever.
That's like the stats where it's like the first player to it'll be like in the NFL, and it's like the first player to average 129.5 rush yards a game. Like, okay.
In October, where the temperature is at least 68 degrees and
Yeah.
the moon is waning, like,
Right.
okay.
those Patrick Mahomes stats that they always pull out. Anyway, back to the Knicks Pacers. So Jalen Brunson had 43, 6 and 6. Josh Hart continued his legendary. I'm gonna put up double my career average in the playoffs. Here with 24, 13 and 8.
We also just shout out Josh Hart really quick. He has played almost every minute of the playoffs.
He has, he's
it
taken
is
like
insane
2
what he's
rests.
doing.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Now, and that's, I mean, to be fair, the Knicks have like no bench.
They're playing Precious Achua off the bench,
Who?
so exactly.
Dante DiVincenzo, 25, 3-1. He was 5 for 9 from 3. Warriors legend. And then OG Ananobi and Isaiah Hartenstein.
Isaiah,
Yeah,
there you go.
I got there eventually. I wanted to say Josh Hart again because Hartenstein. Both added 13 as well. I figured I owed you a stutter for earlier, but
Yeah,
for the Pacers,
kind of stroked out there.
yeah, for the Pacers, Pascal Siakam had 19, 6 and 5. Tyrese Halliburton, he needs to go. He needs to in the off season because I think that's going to be fast approaching for them. He needs to go find the Monstars layer and get his basketball powers back because what has happened?
Honestly, though, he has not looked the same. It's like he got injured with a hamstring injury about midway through the season. He has not looked the same
No,
since.
that's Tyrese
'Cause,
Halliburton.
like, before then, he was averaging like 22 and like 12. Like
Dude, he was in MVP discussions. Like,
oh yeah, he was like top 6 in MVP voting like midway through the season.
now he's Tyrese Halliburton. He had 6, 2 and 8 with 4 steals. Miles Turner had 23, 2 and 3. Hold on, buckle your seatbelts. Aaron Naismith, Andrew Nimhard, Obi Toppin, and TJ McConnell all ended up in double figures. Yeah, so I'll let you take the lead here on this game. I actually didn't get to watch this one, unfortunately. I just kind of got to watch some of the highlights and get caught up. I have seen these last few possessions here, but I'll let you break it down for us.
Yeah, so there were a few questionable calls. The first one was a steal that was made by Indiana that was eventually called a kicked ball. This was in a tie game. There was 35, 40 seconds left. So it was a steal that would have led to, I mean, it was, nobody in front of him would have been a layup. But instead it was called a kicked ball, which gave possession back to New York, who subsequently hit a 3 to go up 3 with about 30 seconds left. And then in Indiana's next possession, it ended with Miles Turner being called for a moving screen, which it felt kind of soft to me. Honestly, it seemed very reminiscent of the UConn-Iowa Women's National Championship, where someone was called for a moving screen, and it was like, do you call that in that situation? Like, is it a moving screen?
The semis,
and
yeah.
Oh yeah, either way. And like that situation, it was like, yeah, I feel like you have to call it.
This one
was a moving screen. This one was like,
it's kind of a bang bang. It was kind of a bang bang. Like he moved but got set right as they made contact. It was kind of
it was
kind
like
of odd.
I don't know if you can call that in that situation. Like at this point they were down 3 with 24 seconds, 25 seconds left or whatever it is. And you call that, and it's just like, it felt kind of soft to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, did Indiana get gypped here at the end, or do you think that the calls that were made, that you think they should have been made and they were correct?
So I will say, Indiana, some of it goes on to coaching because they challenged a call that they won, like right before the kickball. But then they couldn't challenge the kicked ball call, which I think they would have won that challenge. Because I think watching the replay, it didn't look like a kickball, did it? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
It didn't to me.
It didn't to me either. So some of that's on coaching because the play that they challenged and won seemed like it didn't seem like that much of a difference maker. It kind of felt like that Oklahoma City challenge a few weeks ago that made you almost burst a blood vessel.
Oh my! Don't even get started. I will spend 20 minutes just on that.
So some of that's on coaching, at least in that part. Because obviously, if you've got that challenge, you can challenge that kickball. You win that. So some of that's like that situational awareness there. That moving screen, unlike that UConn-Iowa moving screen, that one really did feel kind of bang bang. And it just felt like, I don't know. I just don't think I don't think you call that there, like I kind of felt like the game was decided at that point. Like, Indiana might have gotten a shot off, who knows, but it felt at that point like that was kind of desperation time. So I can't say that it necessarily like is the reason that they lost. I mean, you get more from Halliburton, you know, or anytime one of your stars puts up 6 points, that's a rough outing. You know what I mean? Like, so there are probably other ways they could have won that game earlier on, but I definitely feel like that call specifically was kind of, you could say they got gypped, I guess.
Yeah, I'm always one under the belief that I hate blaming stuff on the refs.
Same.
Um, just because my whole theory is like if you don't want the refs to decide a game, don't put yourself in that situation. Be up by more. Don't make it a close game towards the end where you have to put the refs in that situation to make or not make a call.
Unless the refs decide a iconic Super Bowl on us. What is it with me the last like 5 minutes and making you want to kill yourself? Anyway, too soon. Anyways, you were saying.
But when ESPN analyst Brian Windhorst is coming on the air and saying that these were bad calls,
yeah, no, that's pretty rough.
That to me tells me it was a bad call. Like he knows more about basketball than a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's tough for these refs to make calls in crunch time. They could go either way, kind of stuff. But when a guy that knows a lot about basketball is coming on and saying that these were bad calls, that makes me believe that they were bad calls.
Yeah, no, I think I tend to agree with you there. Anytime the officiating is getting roasted on a television show after the game or during the game, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
All right. So, in light of that, we're kind of the round 2 series have either started or are currently underway. As I know, Boston and Cleveland, I believe, are playing right now. And then OKC and Dallas will play later. So, the rundown. We're going to give you guys another installment of the Rundown Predicts. This time we're going to take round 2. I'm curious. I want to look back at our round 1 predictions and see
how we did.
See how we did. So we picked starting off strong, baby.
Oh boy.
We picked the Suns over the Timberwolves. I don't have a broom, so that was rough. We split on the Bucks Pacers, but you were right on that one. You picked the Pacers, I picked the Bucks. Obviously, I didn't think Giannis and Dame were going to get hurt like they did, but I kudos. We both picked the Mavs over the Clippers, which we were correct in that. So shockingly, we both picked the Celtics. And then I was wrong to doubt your Thunder. So there you go.
Dang, so I went 4-1. Hell yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, I think this was specifically just the Game 2 matchups that we had here. Because I've been saying all along that I was picking your Thunder to win that
series.
Oh,
yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that was...
yeah. But I think we did pick in those series. I don't think either of us picked the Timberwolves to beat the Suns in that series. I just don't think either of us really trusted Minnesota like that. The Bucks, I think we both probably would have picked the Bucks in that series.
I picked Indiana.
You did pick Indiana.
Like, even on my betting TikTok,
I'll give you
Indiana.
that then. Fair enough. I'll give you that. I think I would have picked Milwaukee, but again, I think that was before.
I got the receipts to back that one up too.
I would have picked Milwaukee, but that was before the injuries.
Yeah, so Giannis got hurt with like 2 games left, but Dame got hurt in the game 1, game 2.
Yeah, and I thought Giannis would come back. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Which, to be fair, had that series gone 6 or 7, he would have.
Yeah, for sure. Both of us, I would have picked the Mavs over the Clippers in that series. I just don't trust the Clippers ever. The Heat, Celtics. What are we talking about? The Pelicans and Thunder. I picked the Thunder in that series, as did you, of course. This was specifically over Game 2. Denver, Lakers. I think we both would have picked Denver. I know you did. And I was advocating.
I think it was like Denver in like 6.
Yeah, I was advocating. I was advocating that it was going to be Denver in 7 because I thought that was the Lakers' best chance to beat Denver, but I would have picked Denver there as well. And I believe that's all of the series, isn't it? Oh no, there was Knicks and
Sixers, and we both picked the
Sixers.
Sixers.
We both picked the Sixers because
I remember that.
we thought they were the team of the year. And who are we missing? Orlando, Cleveland. I think we both would have picked Cleveland.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, sorry, I just wanted to revisit that while we're getting ready to pick round 2. Because unlike last time where we were picking a specific game, I think this is us picking the entire series. So, round 2, we've got Denver, Minnesota. I am going to pick Minnesota in this series. I think that they have shocked me with how well they're playing. And right now, Justin, they look like the best team in the Western Conference. And it's not, I mean, OKC's looked good, but they looked a little shaky in round 1. There were some moments where I was like, I don't know. I thought that they were going to win, but like there were some moments in round 1 where I was like, what are we doing, OKC? You know, whereas Minnesota hasn't really given me any of those moments. This might be shocking to you, though. I think Minnesota wins 4-0.
Ooh. I have Minnesota winning it in 6. I have Denver being able to steal 2 games. My prediction is that Denver is going to win game 3, probably lose game 4. They'll be down 3-1. I think they win game 5 at home, and then Minnesota closes it out in Minnesota in game 6.
Yeah, Jokic.
Kind of how I.
Jokic comes out there. No, only one team in NBA history has ever. No, here's the thing. I think my pick is predicated on I think Jamal Murray gets suspended for game 3. And I think if he gets suspended for game 3, I think Denver goes down 3-0. And
it's curtains.
Curtains, baby. So naturally, somehow Denver's going to come back and win in 7 or something like that. We're both going to look dumb.
No, they're just going to win the next 4 games.
You're right. Right. Minnesota's going to be out here, whoop that trick. And then they're just going to get, run over. OKC, Dallas. I've gone back and forth on this series.
This is a tough series.
This is a tough one. This is a very tough series. Before the playoffs started, I would have picked OKC in 5. Kyrie and Luka have been out of their minds this entire playoffs. Like, they are playing incredibly. They're eating. And
No. Feed me that. Feed you that
energy.
Freaking hype that I need.
Feed you that energy.
Because OKC's taking this.
So, I would have picked OKC in 5. I think that OKC is going to take this in 7. I think that it's going to be a close, competitive series the entire time. And I think Shea is going to be the difference. I think Shea is going to have that coming-of-age moment where he proves, hey, everybody's been talking about Luka. Nobody's been talking about me. Here I am. This is my world now. I'm picking OKC in 7. Thunder up, baby.
Yes, sir.
You got to turn it around. We got to see the logo. Let's go. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, no, shocking literally nobody. I am also choosing OKC. Here's a fun fact for you. New Orleans, during the regular season, how many points do you think they averaged? Just guess.
I'm going to guess 118.
It was 115. They averaged 115. Yeah, that's pretty good. OKC held them to 89 points per game.
I was going to say 96. Holy shit. Like, I knew it was under 100, but
6 points less than what they averaged in the regular season. 26. Great player. Kyrie, great player. But did y'all see what Lou Dort did to Brandon Ingram? Did you
Smack
guys
that
see
all
what?
on the flow. Smack that. Give me some.
Did y'all see what J-Dub did to Brandon Ingram? Did you see what Shea and Kaysen Wallace did to CJ McCollum?
Oh, I saw. We're not allowed to show the replays for, sake of our viewers, but I saw it.
Because it was a whole lot of bending them over.
Hey, yo. Oh,
No,
gosh.
I will say I do think the Mavs are probably more, or definitely more experienced when it comes to just postseason success. But I don't think that matters. And I also want to point out really quickly, I was on my way home today from work. I started my car. I literally am pulling out of the parking lot of my work, and I'm listening to Fox Sports Radio, where it's Doug Gottlieb and Ryan Hollins.
Who?
Ryan Hollins, exactly. I think he used to be an ESPN analyst. Ryan Hollins is on there, and he said that Luka and Kyrie are just going to be too much for OKC to handle because this league is a guard-driven league. It is a backcourt-driven league.
I mean, that's probably true as far as like it being a backcourt-driven league, but I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish.
Hold up. This year's MVP, Nikola Jokic, center. Last year's MVP, Joel Embiid, center. 2 years before that, Nikola Jokic, center. The 2 years before that, Giannis Antetokounmpo, power forward. Who won Rookie of the Year? That'd be 7'4" Victor Wembanyama. Who won Sixth Man of the Year? That would be 6'10", 6'11" Naz Reid. Guard-driven league, though? All of the guys that won major awards, except for, I don't know, most improved. I don't even know who won most improved. I don't really care. But all of the major awards...
Whoa, Stephen Curry was Clutch Player of the Year.
That's because he's the best shooter of all time.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that, like, this is a guard-driven league.
if what'd you say his name? Ryan Hollins?
Ryan Hollins,
If he were talking and we were listening to him in, say, 2017, 2018, sure, you're right. You got me there. Guard-driven.
But, like, have you not watched the best player in the NBA over the last 6 years? The guy that has won MVP has been 6'10" or taller. 6 consecutive years.
Well, you're missing one person. You're missing one point though. It was Giannis Antetokounmpo, best player in the league. Nikola Jokic, best player in the league. Joel Embiid. Nikola Jokic, best player in the league.
Fair enough. I don't know. Anyway, all of that to say, OKC in 6.
There you go. Man, that pick took a while.
Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. That really frustrated me.
You're good. It's okay. It's okay. How many Titans and Bengals rants have we had in the past? It is what it is.
Too many to count.
That's right. Taverner's Tirade Part 921. On to the Knicks and Pacers series. Knicks are currently up 1-0. It's so weird to me that Denver and Minnesota are about to have Game 3, and OKC and Dallas are playing Game 1 tonight.
Yeah. It's so weird how they do the scheduling, but
so weird.
Whatever.
So the Knicks are up 1-0. I'm going to pick the Knicks, and I think that the Knicks are going to win in 5. The Pacers, I understand that they got very close to Game 1, but I think that emotional, disarray is going to do bad things to their team morale. It felt like that was you remember in 2018 when the Cleveland Cavaliers had a chance to beat Golden State in Game 1, and they dropped the ball at the end. And they ended up getting
J.R. Smith forgot the time.
Yeah.
I forgot the score.
I don't think Cleveland was winning that series at all, but I think that series looks a little different. Like maybe it goes 6, if Cleveland wins Game 1. You steal a game at Golden State. I think that looks a lot different for Game 2, whereas LeBron broke his hand in the locker room after the game because he dropped 58 and 8 in Game 1, and they lost because J.R. Smith was like, I thought we had the lead. I just think that the Pacers, I just don't see Halliburton becoming what he was pre-injury overnight, and it's hard for me to say that they're going to get any more than one game. So, Knicks in 5.
I have the Knicks winning, but I have them winning in 7. I think this game goes the distance, or this series goes the distance. And my only reasoning for that is because the Knicks are playing such a short bench, Like they play 7 guys. Josh Hart plays the entire game. Dante DiVincenzo plays 44 minutes. Like all of these guys are playing such long games, and they did it in 6 games against Philly. Did that series go 5 or 6? I can't remember.
It went 6.
It went 6. So they did that for 6 games against Philly. They're going to do it again here against Indiana. Indiana's a great home team. I think that they're able to steal some games on their home floor. And I think that the Knicks, because of their short bench, it kind of catches up with them a little bit. But I give the edge to the Knicks because I think they're better in close games, as we've seen in the series with the Sixers and now in Game 1. They just find ways to close out games. So I kind of give them the edge there. So, yeah, I have the Knicks in 7.
Yeah, the Knicks would have closed it out in 5, but Joel Embiid had like 200 points, 85 rebounds, and 75 assists in Game 5 to save him. No, he had like 53, though. It was stupid. Yeah, I agree with you as far as the Knicks bench depth catching up to them, but I think that's going to happen to them whenever they go get swept by Boston in the conference finals. Speaking of Boston, the last series, Boston and Cleveland, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. We have the exact same prediction. I think Boston wins 4 games to 1. So,
yeah, I have Boston in 5. I think Cleveland's able to steal a game at home.
Donovan Mitchell's going to have like 72, 8, and 5.
He's going to do because that's the only way they're going to find a way to win.
And then they're going to lose every other game. So they'll go up 1-0. Cleveland will go up 1-0 and then lose 4 straight.
Right.
So, all right. That is the rundown predicts. So not too much shocking there. I think I'm the most shocked just on the matchups. It's just crazy to think that if the Nuggets get bounced, then either Anthony Edwards or Luka or Shea or Jalen Brunson or Tyrese Halliburton or Jason Tatum or Donovan Mitchell are winning their first ring. It's just crazy. Like, it's crazy to say that kind of stuff and not talk about LeBron, Steph, Kevin Durant, It's so crazy.
And now, I mean, Nikola Jokic, Giannis, like, they're all out of the conversation.
Yeah, so let's move on. Let's wrap up our episode with our hot take section. I'll just start us out here. My first hot take, if the Nuggets get swept this year, Nikola Jokic will not be a top 15 player of all time.
Like, he has no shot of becoming one?
No
like,
shot.
Even if he wins 3 more chips?
No shot. You can't.
Wow.
You can't be the greatest player on earth. We killed LeBron for stuff like this. Let's be fair. Like, we killed LeBron whenever, not us specifically, but like the media killed LeBron.
Killed LeBron for losing in 6 to Golden State.
Exactly. They killed him for that. So we have to be fair. If you get swept by, Minnesota's great. Don't get me wrong. But if you get swept by a 22-year-old Anthony Edwards.
And a guy that shut down the league from COVID.
Rudy Gobert. And then Karl Anthony Towns, who is, I think, a center.
He's been on the trade block for the last, 4 years.
He's been on the trade block for the last 4 years. He's injury prone, and he's, I think, a center, right? That's his, specialty technically is he's a center.
I think technically, yes, but he plays the 4.
Yeah. And is a 3-point shooting contest champion, which is just weird. That's got to be a knock on your resume because, you want to talk about being the best player in the league. The best player in the league doesn't get swept. LeBron didn't get swept for 15 years. And I know it's probably unfair to compare him to LeBron, but that's how they've talked about
When you're talking about the best player.
They were talking about him getting a if he had gotten the MVP last year that he deserved, then we're talking about a 4-time 4-in-a-row MVP. You got to be able to lift your team past all this stuff, and Minnesota, they're good, but they look clueless. Jokic looks like Kwame Brown out there.
He's a bona fide scrub.
I say that
he can't play.
I say that he's still averaging 20, 18, and 5, but
he would still give us the business.
Right. Well, of course. All right. Give us your first hot take.
My first hot take is that it was announced today that Rudy Gobert has won Defensive Player of the Year for the 2023-2024 season.
Anthony Davis was robbed.
This, to me, is one of the weakest Defensive Player of the Year's winnings in NBA history. My simple reasoning, one game in the playoffs that he has not showed up because obviously he was, at the birth of his child.
What a stupid excuse.
We saw the Timberwolves. We saw what the Timberwolves what they were able to do in last night's game, holding Nikola Jokic and the defending champions to 80 points in an NBA game on their home court. I think, to me, he has such a good core around him of just fantastic athletic wing defenders. Anthony Edwards, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels. Mike Conley's been a great defender. Like, he has all of these guys that make his job so much easier, where all he has to do is just stand around the rim. And, if the guy that, Nikhil Alexander's walking blows by him, he's just there. Like, it just makes his job so much easier having those guys who are so athletic around the perimeter.
For sure.
I think this is a weak Defensive Player of the Year.
I gave him credit, too, because I think that he has actually stepped up defensively this year, but I don't think he deserves to be Defensive Player of the Year because I think Anthony Davis had a better defensive season. I think you could argue some of his own guys on his team have had better seasons defensively. So I'm with you. My second hot take. I'm sorry to do this to you. The Western Conference will be represented by the Minnesota Timberwolves this season. My reasoning is pretty simple. I just think the T-Wolves have, out of the teams remaining in the West, I think they have the most complete team. I think they have the biggest team. And their team plays the most intense defense. Like, it's like that freaking Villanova team, man. It's like you get locked down. Like, they're picking Jokic up full court randomly.
It is suffocating.
Yeah, and the reason I lean with them over OKC or Dallas is because I think if Dallas somehow beats OKC, then I think
if it's Dallas, Rudy Gobert is going to average like 30 rebounds a game.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is who does Dallas have? Like, I mean, Maxi Kleber? He's not going to beat Rudy Gobert and
Derek Lively.
Who? I mean,
PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford.
We're seeing what happens with a team in Denver that has, 2 stars, and that's it. That they're getting walked by their defense, and I think Dallas gets walked by their defense. With OKC, I think what's going to hurt them is just the inexperience. I know that Minnesota is also inexperienced in the playoffs, but at least they've got some some older guys on their team who've at least been around the block a few times. I think potentially that youthfulness with OKC, and especially with that, we've seen OKC get a little sloppy whenever the defense gets really big, and I just think that could make the difference. So,
once again, I just need to reiterate.
I mean, I understand your pick. I understand your thumbs down. Don't get me wrong. I don't like saying it, but I just, out of what I've seen from Minnesota so far, it's a tough out for the Thunder for sure.
Fair enough. My second hot take to wrap up this episode is that I just am simply not buying all of the Anthony Edwards hype. I mean, I don't know. Like, he is a good player, don't get me wrong. But he is being talked about as the next Michael Jordan, the next Kobe Bryant. Like,
I mean, he does look like Michael Jordan, to be fair. Like, literally, physically, he looks like Michael Jordan.
But, like, he's 22 years old. He has proven nothing. Okay, so he swept a Suns team that wasn't good. Outside of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, you can't even say Bradley Beal because he's garbage.
So out of don't those insult two, my garbage like that.
Outside of those two, what the hell did the Suns have? So he swept them. Okay, congrats.
Hey,
and
I know the Suns were a point guard and a big man and a bench away from being a good team.
Yeah, they were just, all of the pieces around Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. They were the other 10 guys around him from being really good.
Exactly.
And like, yes, I know that like he's played well in the first 2 games of this series, but like, I don't know. It's just he gets so much hype, and it's like SGA. Like, I know I'm a Thunder homer, whatever, but like he doesn't get nearly as much hype. Shea averaged more points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, better shooting. Um, he was 0.4% worse shooting from three, and that's because he also took like 3 less threes a game. It's just not his thing. He was a better free throw shooter. Like, he literally did throughout the regular season everything better than Anthony Edwards. And so far, it's not like he's had a bad postseason. Like, he hasn't dropped 40, but he hasn't had to because they've won 3 of those games by double digits. So he hasn't had to drop 40.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I don't know. This is probably me just being a hater. I guarantee that's what it is. But you know,
do you not know?
that's all right. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I will say I think like I agree with some of your points about like some of the Anthony Edwards hype is unproven. But I also think it's hard to argue with what he's done. And at least it looks Jordan-esque for his early years. Like, he is dominating honestly at a higher rate than Jordan did when he was that young. And so, which part of that reason is because I think Jordan was still in college when he was that young, or at least was like year one.
Yeah, but let's not also discount how good the team around Anthony Edwards
No,
is.
for sure.
Michael Jordan didn't have that.
It's not because of Anthony Edwards that I'm picking the Timberwolves over the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. Like, it's not because of Anthony Edwards. It's because just the team as a whole. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with some of your points, but I think some of the hype is justified. I just wish Shea got more respect. Part of that problem is just that OKC has been bad for so long that until they win a championship, they're not going to be as respected as they should be.
Yep. I mean, they're a small market team. They're not going to get love.
Have they tried being a big market team?
Why don't you go find out how big Oklahoma City is?
You said, why don't you go... And I just thought that was going in a completely different direction.
It was, and then I stopped myself.
I was gonna say that F was that F was a little too charged up for that to just be.
I tried to censorship myself.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Well, before Justin gets canceled, why don't we go ahead and just wrap up this episode? I feel
like it was a weekly occurrence.
Right. So as always, guys, we appreciate you all listening. Thank you to all of our fans, all tens of you, and all of the tens of fans. And yeah, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, guys, have a nice day.